Hey everyone, Tim Schofield here. It's time to take a look at the keyboard case for the Galaxy S8, a nifty little attachment to actually put a hardware keyboard on your S8. So let's go ahead and take a close look, and I want to talk about a few things. And here are the two pieces you will get with the keyboard cover. And at Samsung.com, this is actually $60. However, it's currently on sale at Amazon for $47. I will link to that down below. Now here's a closer look at that actual keyboard and flipping it on over. So it's just a little clip-on that you will need to use in conjunction with this case. So this is a polycarbonate shell case. Let's go ahead and snap our Galaxy S8, which I have right here, into the case to show that the volume rocker's Bixby button has a nice cutout. I mean, the cutouts are all fine. You see microphone. The right side is the power button. Down at the bottom, completely open as well. Now, I will make note that it does, having a case on it does make it a little bit easier to reach that fingerprint scanner, just to kind of know where it is, because it adds another level of kind of texture or just another feel to it. It's worth it to add that this keyboard will not work without the case, so don't buy it expecting not to put on the separate case. You will need to do so to actually clip the keyboard onto your Galaxy S8. Clipping on the keyboard is very simple. You just snap it right on just like that. It's very secure. I've not had any issues with it falling off or anything like that. And of course, when you're done using it, you can go ahead and pop it off and snap it on the back as well, where it's not usable, so pressing buttons won't do anything. However, it just can securely stay on the back. And once again, I've not had any issues with it falling off. Something right away I'd like to mention, which can be annoyance and it might be a deal breaker for you, is the button layout changes. So for example, if I have the back, home, and recent apps like this, in this specific order, and you'll see on the keyboard case, I have recent, home, and back as the buttons. Now, watch what happens when I snap the keyboard case onto the phone. You'll see the screen does pop up, so it doesn't take up any of the space. But when I unhook this case, you'll see that these buttons actually changed order to match that of the keyboard case. So if you're going to use it, you have to accept that the back button is going to be in the bottom right, because it will change every time that you put this keyboard on. Here is a close look at that keyboard attached, and make note of the gap between the keyboard and the screen, because when you're checking for suggestions, they're all down here. So it can be a little bit difficult to touch the suggestions down towards the bottom bar. I'll talk about that more in just a second. It does add a little bit of bulk. And now I do want to make note, when you are on the home screen, you cannot turn on the display with any button. Even if you press really hard on the home button, it's not going to turn on that display. So you are kind of stuck with pressing the power button, or of course you can just unlock it quickly with your fingerprint scanner, but you cannot turn the display on with the keyboard while it's attached. A little bit of a bummer. So next I'd like to just do a quick audio test so you know what it sounds like when you're typing on it. It is a little bit clicky, so here is a quick test. I might bump up the decibels. I'll make a note if I do. And this was me actually trying to type very, very quickly. And I find that at times it's hard to be very accurate when I type super quickly. And the suggested words and autocorrect has to be the Samsung keyboard. So it automatically switches your keyboard to the Samsung keyboard, because below it, it will have it underneath the keyboard. So when you press on this, it will actually use that Samsung keyboard. So you have no way around it. So you're stuck with suggestions from the Samsung keyboard, which I'm not a huge fan of, so that's a little bit of a bummer that you can't customize the keyboard being used. And as requested, here's just a quick look at both the BlackBerry Key 1 keyboard along with this keyboard case. So they are a little bit different. I will make note that, of course, the Key 1 has gestures. I do have a full review on this phone. I will link to it down below. But that is something that this keyboard does not. Gestures, along with a fingerprint scanner embedded, of course, because this is actually just embedded into the phone itself. A huge one for me that is kind of a deal breaker, actually, this might be the one deal breaker for me, is that there's no backlit keys. So when you're using it in the dark, you really have to know the keyboard very well. There is dots on J and F like any other normal keyboard, but it is very difficult to use and get used to without any backlighting in the dark. When you're laying in bed or just in a dark room in general, it's a little bit difficult to see. Now the S8 does a good job at recognizing when the case is attached and not attached, and you'll see it just quickly shifts the display up and down, so you aren't necessarily covering up any of the display, so it just minimizes it. You'll see that the edge screen right here gets a little bit smaller this icon right here, and just everything in general. So you'll see if I load up Snapchat, you can follow me at QBKing77. Things get more condensed. As you can see, if I load up the camera app as well. One thing about the camera app is I wish you could press a button. Oops, I pressed the home button. I wish you could press maybe the space bar or any other button to zoom in or maybe take a picture. You cannot. So for whatever reason, I noticed that if I quickly swipe my hand on the keyboard, it brings up zoom, but I can't figure out if there's actually a genuine way to get it to zoom in or if there's something like that. But for whatever reason, I can't get it to take pictures or zoom in or anything with the keyboard. While the keyboard's attached, there is no auto rotate. So you'll see if I tap on auto rotate, it says you have to detach the keyboard from the phone. So you are going to use it in portrait mode. However, when watching a video, maybe a YouTube video, you'll see this is kind of what it's going to look like. It did sense that I had it in portrait mode, but right here, you'll see it definitely just kind of makes the screen smaller, but it is possible and recognizes the keyboard, so it's not going to cover up any of the video. And same when watching a game or being in any app in general. You'll see if I load up Relay for Reddit, it only shows a few things. However, it definitely condenses the entire app, so you utilize all the screen that you can see, and even in the settings app as well, you can go ahead and just see the full app. While the keyboard is attached, there's no pop-out window or multi-window option either. So you see if I go to recent apps, there's no multi-window options, and you'll see that, let's say for example, I am in an app and I go to my recent apps and I do decide to do a multi-window option with two specific apps, and I connect the keyboard, it should just close out of that multi-window, which is kind of fine. I mean, if you think about it, that would be very condensed and very small to have multi-window with this keyboard taking up space. And as I mentioned, those suggestions are a little bit difficult to reach just because they are right above the keyboard, and there is that gap that I showed off a little bit earlier. So that's a little bit tough, and of course you have to deal with it being the Samsung keyboard's suggested words. But overall, I found after using this for a little bit of time that I kind of got used to it. Same with any other hardware keyboard, you really have to dedicate yourself to using it. When you bring it with you, it's nice that you can just kind of snap it on the back of the device and bring it with, and then if you have a long email to type or a long text message, you can just kind of quickly flip it around and start using it right away. No syncing, anything like that. It doesn't need an extra battery. Battery life seems very similar, so it doesn't. I wouldn't worry about it affecting your battery life very much. Also worth noting, if you double tap the spacebar, it's going to put a period after, just like it would with the soft keyboard. And that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. I would say overall, I would really only suggest this if you really, really like using a hardware keyboard. There are definitely some downsides to it, as I mentioned in this video. I do like the feel of it. I am a fan of hardware keyboards. It just seems a little bit impractical. However, it is nice that it is available. You do have to spend a decent amount of money for it, but for someone that really wants a hardware keyboard, maybe they type a lot of long emails, that'd be the one use case. I think it would be worth it if you like typing on a hardware keyboard and you type a lot of longer type of things on your phone. Because it's fine if you want to use your phone and type a quick text with the software keyboard and just have the hardware keyboard on the back of your phone. That's fine. It's not very uncomfortable by any means, but it really doesn't go to good use in terms of, if I just want to say, hey, what's up? I'm not going to flip the keyboard around, type, hey, what's up, and then just flip it back and go back to the video I'm watching. Overall, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. The case has a nice feel to it. I feel like it would protect the phone fairly well, and the keyboard itself doesn't feel cheap when I type on it. It has a nice softer touch feel, and the buttons are fairly premium feeling overall, so that is not a complaint of mine. And of course, to get to your emojis, you can just press Alt and the symbols button, or just the symbols button to get to more on-screen symbols. So anyways, that's the Samsung keyboard cover. Go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know what you think. If it's something you'd be interested in getting. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, click that subscribe button. Follow me on various social media. All links in the description below. And as always, thank you very much for watching.